Well, we had a nice, interesting set there. Fallen Squadron versus Dig goes to a split. And now we get to see former world champs, 2 times NRG, who aren't having the greatest year, against Obey, who are still the only undefeated team in Europe.
And it's maniaKK up against his old squad. You know, it's Obey trying to get some revenge, saying, well, it was just maniaKK decided to leave because he felt like NRG was a better opportunity for him to win a world championship. So, you know the guys on Obey well enough.
Oh, sure, they're going to want to win now.
They really want to let maniaKK know that he made a mistake.
And the same again, NRG looking to try and bounce back after some recent performances and find the wins that they're after to try and get themselves in the top half of the table, because teams like Elevate are above them.
Yeah, and now Valence as well after finding that split, and they beat NRG.
It's dangerous.
Look,
man.
Europe was already crazy coming into the fall split.
NRG could be bottom 2 and get relegated right now.
Okay, hold.
I mean, they could.
Slow down.
But they could.
Theoretically, yes. We could also get hit by a giant meteor any moment now. Okay.
Well, let's find out if one of those 2 things happen. Let's go to pick some bans, first of all, and let's see how NRG and Obey do. Obey going to take the first pick option here. I'm expecting this week we're still going to see RTO banned because no one's had time to really check whether or not she is still strong or still public opinion.
Right. RTO is still going to probably be banned pretty consistently. I'm interested to see how much Terra we'll see, if at all. I mean, Terra used to be first pick, first ban, you know, every game. Usually not banned, but usually picked right away. Maybe a team can get her last in the draft and you still utilize that strong slow that lasts a little bit longer than the root used to.
And we'll see, because EmilZy was one talking about Terra, thinking that in the casual sense she's probably been hit a little bit too hard, but competitive she's still going to be viable, he said, but maybe not as viable as she once was in terms of like the only support we see.
When you play Terra, you still can press 4 and give your entire team movement speed, CDR, clear casting, and a heal if they get hit enough times. She's going to be good in competitive level.
Well, RTO will be banned. Erlang Shen too. We've seen the rise of Erlang Shen, and with things mixing up, no Scarly bans anymore either.
No, but Muzen Cobb first pick is the word. What happened in the last set?
4 seasons I've been cast in the SPL4 now. Yep. And Muzen Cobb, I believe already this one split has been played more, if not banned equal to as well, and if you include that, then the rest of the years combined.
Easily his highest pick ban rate ever. I can't imagine that it's close. And Raijin right with him there as well.
I love this. It's crazy.
If you would have taken this snapshot of this exact team comp so far and then posted it to Reddit like 3 months ago, I think
February. You do February.
Yeah, their brains, Reddit's collective brain would have melted.
Well, Ratatoskr, another face that did get some changes recently. Obviously, he did take a couple of nerfs, and then he's had a couple of buffs now to maybe adjust him back into competitive play. Jumping down to the shred, and now Cabrakan too.
What a first 3 picks for Obey. And
what a time to be
even 3 weeks ago, we would have been like, what is Obey thinking? But these are really strong here. This is an early game composition from Obey. They want to get pressure in the early game and just kind of snowball it from there.
Well, that Cabrakan as well, we've seen it in the solo lane previous seasons against Osiris, who isn't great against the actual magical damage dealt. Well, he's a little bit better than he used to be, but he's still
better than he used to be. Now the passive does give him some percent mitigation, but it's half of what he gets in terms of physical. So you get 16% damage mitigation against physical damage as Osiris when you're in that full passive, but against magic you only get 8%. Plus, the CC to interrupt that tremor is very delayed on the Judgment Tether, so you're going to be able to tremor that wave without any threat of being interrupted.
Well, 4 banned out in Circuit by Obey so far. They're going to go to Raven, who is a potential jungler too. Really focusing on adapting here, obviously, and NRG seems to be quite happy with that because they're focused around the other premier positions.
It is going to be Terra for iRaffer, so she will still see some play, saving that last pick for adapting. Susano is still on the table for him and would be excellent up against the Muzen Cobb, though. You do have to worry about Poseidon? That cripple. Now more cripple, so maybe Susano's not the pick, but Poseidon's back. Lots of lockdown on Obey's comp. Yeah, well, think about Hoyi, Raijin, and Terra all have issues with cripple, and that kind of makes some sense to look at the Poseidon. Obviously, Raijin can't teleport away like he likes to. Same for Hoyi. And I love this Fafnir pick. That Coerce is going to do great work with the Muzen Cobb, of course, but the Trident buff as well. Camazotz still on the table is an excellent pick here for NRG. But how far has Camazotz fallen down there? I mean, he did get nerfed this patch as well. He did. That they're playing on, so maybe that's one of the reasons, but clearly it's not nerfed enough, just like Terra, for NRG to He's still so safe. He still does so much damage in the early, mid, and late stages of the game. And if you're accurate with it, he's going to be putting out more damage than just about any other assassin. Daji is going to outscale him in the late game, but compared to every other assassin, like the Ratatoskr for CaptainTwig, it's not even going to be close. It's going to be adapting, dealing more damage in the late game.
Well, here we go. Big game between these two. Very important. Obviously, Obey still undefeated at the moment. Haven't actually dropped a single game so far. They've actually gone 2-0 in every single one, looking to potentially do the same against NRG. NRG, as we mentioned, have struggled this year overall, not just this split, but this split is a little bit more telling than the others because it's the world split.
But keep in mind that NRG in their toughest competition up against Dignitas split. So they still have that potential to beat these top-tier teams in Europe, and certainly Obey fits that bill.
Well, Ataraxia early on is starting towards the mid lane with EmilZy right now. You can look at the left-hand side and you see it's actually pretty prime on the Poseidon that's going to be starting in the Hunter role. So a lot of switch-ups here as NRG, meanwhile, have sent both their carries to the mid lane, and the carries are having fun, and emilitoo's in a lot of trouble. Aegis was very early, but the sprint's still going.
emilZy's going to find the hammer, and that's going to be first blood. You can't box with the B in the early game, and this duo in the mid ends up working out for Obey.
You can box with the B, but you got to make sure you land your autos. That was the big difference. Right-hand side, adapting a maniaK, going to get forced out by Xaliea and those tremors. So early pressure for Obey in the duo, sorry, in the solo lane and the mid lane right now.
So this sort of idea from Obey to put Prime over in the duo lane and have the duo lane start in mid is really centered around the fact that AMC's clear is so good that he doesn't need that extra bit of help. He's going to be able to get enough with the Fafnir. Plus, Fafnir can interrupt the clear from Raijin. Still one of Raijin's weaknesses is if you stun out that percussive storm, he loses all of his clear. So that's why you see emilZy in the mid lane with Ataraxia. And this frees up PrettyPriMe to make sure that iRaffer isn't going to get as much free farm on the left-hand side. Saw Prime already secure the red buff on Obey's side of the map. Just making sure that iRaffer can't just stay as safe as he would like to on this side.
We did see the crippling curse come out in that solo lane fight as well, just to mention. CaptainTwig starting with that, no beats, no Aegis on a jungler. We've only really seen that a little bit from the Warriors, if anybody else, but seeing that early on has allowed them to get this pressure.
There is a slight lack of hard CC on the side of NRG. I mean, adapting doesn't have any hard CC. Sure. It's only a slow on the Camazotz. maniaK's got a long duration stun that takes a long time to go off, and of course the root from the ultimate. But Raijin, that's the one that I'm probably most worried about if I'm CaptainTwig. Also the ricochet stun from emilitoo. But now that iRaffer only has the stun and a slow instead of a stun and a root where the root can guarantee the stun, not quite as scary.
And just look at what Obey have done with this first blood they got on Yammyn, sorry, on emilitoo in the middle lane, I should say. Yammyn's now being frozen off the experience. They're just last hitting as much as possible, trying to deny Yammyn getting any experience and giving themselves a small lead.
And it's also the start that Yammyn's gone for. The Book of Thoth Rush means that he didn't get as many pots off the start. You only get one of each, and they were both popped very, very early on. He doesn't get any additional mana sustain, health sustain. He doesn't have a Bumba's Mask in order to go into the jungle and heal up there. So that's why you see that strategy from Obey be so consistent, where they know that Yammyn isn't going to be healing up. They know that any damage he takes from clearing camps even is going to stick, and so they can just hold that wave and wait for him to come to them.
And take into account, seeing these hunters start towards the mid lane now, it's a technically, obviously, it's a different lane to the duo, so when you box in the early game, you're not going to necessarily be in the same position you would in the duo lane, not know the matchup scenarios quite so well, and you can actually lull yourself into a false sense of security or even just make small mistakes because you're not used to being in that lane at the start of the game.
That's true. In level, you know, Hu Yi, one of the kings of boxing because of Mark of the Golden Crow, but level 1, you don't have that available to you.
Hold on, but if you're mid lane with Ricochet, you can technically get the double bounce off, potentially, if you line it up right, but it does make you susceptible to, you know, more damage back.
Of course, and the big thing that really turned that fight in Obey's favor in the mid lane for first blood was actually Ataraxia hitting the swarm onto Emil and then continuing to auto-attack him to extend the B's duration and hit that disarm. It was the disarm that really ends up making it so that NRG say, oh, we can't fight this anymore. We're going to try and retreat. But Emil was a little bit early on the Aegis.
So less than 2k gold lead for Obey thanks to that first blood, but the pressure is definitely in their favor as it stands now. Keep an eye on this right-hand side of the map. Speed buff and blue buff about to spawn in NRG's jungle, and that's exactly where Obey are looking to at least set up for some cheeky shenanigans here.
Twig has a level lead, as does Xaliea, so that's why Obey want to take this fight with PrettyPriMe lurking as well. Twig going to dash in and find the stun on a maniaK.
And that was clean. Oh, it should have been clean. He waited with the Kraken instead of just executing it, waiting for the ult. maniaKK will live. Rotation in from NRG eSports now, looking towards their speed buff. They may have to accept that blue is a lost situation, but the speed may be a different story.
emilZy doing a good job of handling two members. There's a stun onto adapting, and he's going to use the purification beads. Up into the Taiko drums goes Yammyn looking at Twig, but Twig's not taking any damage. damage.
No, Twig's doing okay for himself right now, and now has to dash away as Adapting in the sky looks towards emilZy, who will immediately exit as fast as he can. Nice little stun, but still being chased down by Yammyn. emilZy could fall here.
emilitoo up over the top. That one's going to guarantee an energy on the board now, 1-for-1. But Obey get both buffs on the right-hand side.
On the left. Look at the left. Look exactly where Twig went to. We saw him take to the sky in his ultimate. Immediately went to the red buff of energy. Steal that one away. Set Ataraxia up for more pressure in this lane.
And during all that chaos, where was CaptainTwig? He was still on speed. He was looking at the objective. He secured it and then got out with that ultimate. So well played by CaptainTwig.
Well, Yammyn and Rafa was looking towards the red buff. The red buff's not there. Prime, though, in a lot of trouble, and he'll go down. Just him and Twig around, not recognizing there was 3 members of energy here. But now it's energy in a bit of a spot as well.
It's a level 8 AMC coming around the back. Stinger on emilitoo forces out the Aegis, so Ataraxia okay with that. But Raffer on the run. Nice stun by emilZy.
And now Raffer's in trouble because you saw him use the walls already, and the helmet coming out from emilZy was good enough to make it a 2-2 game. Purple now being looked up by Obey.
Emil so far behind in this lane already. Now Xalia's in some trouble, but a nice double stun gets him out of the tether range from maniaKK and keep him safe. This is the most important lane for Obey right now because PrettyPriMe already has a lead. Dual lane already has a lead. Xaliea has a slight lead, but energy's likely gonna look to play around Osiris in the early game up against the Guardian. Xaliea needs to stay safe in this lane, and Obey can kind of control the game from there. But if I'm energy, I'm probably saying, yo, let's play around Osiris. He's our best early game god here. Let's try and push that.
Twig feeling it now, going in onto Adapting and a force the ultimate out immediately from him. The bat out of hell is no more for the time being. I was going to touch on what Twig did there as well. You know, we saw Xaliea go back, but immediately he was over there, soak that experience, make sure energy don't get in pressure in that lane, and make sure he uses that experience to continue his lead over Adapting.
If you're looking how to farm efficiently in the jungle, CaptainTwig is the man you should be watching, because for me, in terms of junglers who make sure they can get the most out of the map in terms of experience, CaptainTwig is near the top, if not the top. This guy always has his mind on where he should be going next, whether it's lanes or buffs. Even that little engagement, like I said, he's focusing speed buff in the midst of all that team fight chaos, gets up to the ultimate to escape and says, oh, there's farm in the enemy jungle on the left-hand side. Let me pop on over there to help out Ataraxia.
It's funny how the metas have changed too, because back in the day, Twig, when he was in the jungle, people said he farmed too much and didn't gank enough. Well, now it works out well for him. Talking about ganks, he's pressuring maniaKK once more, and Xaliea there with a nice bit of burst won't force maniaKK too defensive in terms of using his ultimate, but it will send him back to base, potentially, in a moment's time.
Still has his ultimate and the sprint, so willing to stick around, but needs to be a little bit concerned if CaptainTwig decides to commit the ultimate. He could just try and burst him down beforehand, but this is perfectly timed poked. Look where the buffs are on the right-hand side, spawning on the right. I like what energy's response is, though. Head to the left and try and pull gold.
Well, speed being pulled now by Obey. Gold Fury being looked at, but AMC and emilZy around here. emilZy going to escape for now, and the Dragon Bomb going to soak a lot of this damage up for the time being, keep him standing, but not for long. emilZy will leap away, but the Kraken comes out from PrettyPriMe. Ataraxia does pick up Raffer because of that, so it's a 2-for-1 as Adapting and Raffer both fall. And guess what? Twig's going to get himself a red buff too. Not him. He'll give it to Nate.
Just a perfect bait by emilZy there. He takes up so many cooldowns from energy and also forces them into a little tiny corridor, which is exactly where Poseidon and Ratatoskr want you. Big ultimate combination out of Obey. And look at the team fight recap. All of that damage from energy is onto one character, and it's the support who doesn't really care if he dies. All of the damage from Obey is spread out amongst energy. Honestly, energy's lucky they only lost 2 there with how well that was constructed by Obey.
And that's one of the strengths of Fafnir that generally does go overlooked, because everyone expects you to turn into the dragon and go aggressive. Turn into the dragon is very defensive. It's a reset. It buys you a little bit more time for your team to turn up. And that's what energy kind of fell for there. The all-in Fafnir. Fafnir managed to get his ultimate off, and you're still waiting for him to transform to try and finish off the kill. But then Obey, they come into the fight and turn it around.
I really like what emilZy's gone for here as well. Mark of the Vanguard after completing his boots, recognizing that he's a little bit behind. He's got 4 assists. He's assisted on every kill that Obey has so far. But he's also got the 2 deaths early on. So let's get the Mark of the Vanguard, boost up the tankiness very quickly, and then start to work what's probably going to be a Jade Emperor's crown. Raffer, on the other hand, goes for the Bumba's Mask, the support that loves to go for Bumbas, especially when he's starting alone on the left-hand side. But now a very late Lonos afterwards, how quickly iRaffer can get this stacked up is going to be a big impact on how tanky he'll be in the mid game.
And talking a little bit more about Vanguard from emilZy, think about NRG's team composition here. There's a lot of dot damage. You've got the Vampiric Bats out of Camazotz. emilitoo does have a Bluestone Pendant, so that'll help a little bit there. And Raijin, obviously, Raiju does damage with a dot form, so reducing all of that every single time.
Plus the Suns from Huyi as well, the Monolith Shatter from iRaffer. The first initial burst is a lot of damage, but then it's got small ticks afterwards. Mark of the Vanguard, definitely an excellent pickup here. And look at what the junglers have gone for in their starter item choices. Usually two characters that we see Bluestone Pendant on, both going for Death's Toll. And I think this is a realization that Cleave auto attacks with Death's Toll dominated solo lane for a while. These are two assassins with Cleave auto attacks on their auto chains.
Well, hang on a second. NRG starting up the Gold Fury again, but Ataraxia definitely on the scene very quickly just to throw out the honey and deny them the opportunity from continuing.
And this start for Obey has gone so well because of how much farm Ataraxia has been able to secure for himself. He's level 13 now at 10 minutes in, and whenever Obey is invading the right side jungle, even with only 2 members on the left for Obey, as long as one of them's a massive AMC, NRG cannot pull that Gold Fury safely.
And when you think about it, look at the net worth on the left-hand side. emilitoo is the highest player on the team, yet he is still 2 levels down on Ataraxia as it stands.
1,200 gold, too.
Obey. Looking at the blue buff on the right-hand side here. maniaKK trying to deny this, but he can't. Xaliea will pick this up. And now it's speed buff time again. Gold Fury is still available, and this time NRG won't go for the gold. They're just going to lose their jungle, but Ataraxia, bit of an awkward spot for him.
He gets used. There come the Taiko drums. Beads as well. Cracking off the mark from Prime as emilZy goes into the transformation, adapting, chasing down Ataraxia as best he can, but can't quite find him.
Over the wall comes emilitoo, looking for a big hot ricochet. Not today, though. Back down comes Twig to try and slow down NRG aggressing, because Obey are in a bit of tatters here. They're getting quite low.
CaptainTwig trying to get Xaliea out. The increased movement speed as well as the coerce buff on top of him does get Obey Alliance out of there. That was a really bad fight off the bat for Obey. Ataraxia needs to be more careful with his positioning. He's massive. He's level 13. He's working on a high to the Urchin. But you're still at AMC. You're still going to get focused down. Almost baited Obey into a bad fight, but good peel, good relic usage as well gets Obey out of danger.
Then the unfortunate thing for NRG is they did win that team fight. They forced all of Obey back, but they didn't get anything other than their own jungle buff, which, to be fair, in one regard, I guess is a good thing. They got red buff on the left.
They got red buff on the left, but Twig got the speed again. Adapting has had 1 speed so far this game, I believe, and he's 3 levels down to CaptainTwig right now. I mean, we were talking about the net worth of Ataraxia. Look at where Twig is in comparison. 3rd overall. Adapting's last in the game.
Xaliea on zone duty, going to stun him, get some nice damage off into Adapting, which will force his bead, but emilitoo got some hot damage off onto Twig to force him out, but the bad news is he was then left alone, and the Whirlpool did work. Poseidon, his back, drums out from Yammyn, looking for damage onto Ataraxia, who soaks most of it with the Aegis, and then Yammyn has to disappear too. All this fight is really just over those oracles right now.
Twig almost died to the Raiju bounce there. We was backing almost all the way, and then the Raiju bounce to him almost finished him off, but it was actually the Ancile that he picked up, the Anchile, that ended up saving his life with
Anchile?
We need to have, it's, who knows? Someone knows. That isn't me.
Listen, it's tomato to me, as long as everybody understands it.
But that's the thing, is no one says tomato, except for you because of your accent.
I'm English, and we are English, and we speak the Queen's English, you know? Like,
listen, we're just going to end up, this is going to end up devolving into a debate. Yeah.
Listen, let's go through it now. It'll end up in a conversation of me talking about English and then you trying to defend it and saying, yeah, we're all independent and stuff now. Yeah, woo. Then I'll turn around and go, haha, Trump, and then you'll go, haha, Brexit. And then I'll go, well, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, EU won worlds. And you'll be like, well, poop.
Yeah, maybe season 4. Yeah, okay. Glad we had the conversation.
That's where I'll go. We're past that now. Back on with the game.
You missed I would have made a crumpets joke in there somewhere for the record. Maybe tea as well.
Sure. Whatever. That'll do.
You got the most.
I wanted to go on with it, then I'm like, nope, I'm not going to fall for that bait. Thank you, aggro. 13 minutes in, and now emilZy rotating towards mid lane, level 10. Still only a level above iRaffer as it stands, but the level disparities between the other positions is more of a talking point.
But emilZy is the same level as Adapting. Adapting doesn't have any penetration done yet. He's got a little bit of flat pen from that heavy mace, but no Jotuns, no Brawlers. Brawler's probably the call here just because it's a little bit cheaper, and Adapting needs some damage now.
Blue buff down, speed buff just about to spawn, but this time NRG, the only ones really around it, just emilZy watching, because maniaK's doing a good job of keeping too busy. Has to be a little bit careful, though, because he's not going to get any support. But good news, adapting has his speed buff.
Obey just a little bit mistimed there with where PrettyPriMe wanted to be, but instead, Prime going to start up this Portal Demon. Ataraxia wasn't able to make the rotation in time for speed either, but look at the identification from NRG. They're giving up this Portal Demon and going for gold.
And the only one that may now recognize is Twig, who's gone to the sky early on, going to pounce towards and see this Gold Fury going on. Straight in and straight back out goes Twig, but the Gold Fury was reset, Portal Demon down, and NRG have to retreat, knowing that Obey are on the way.
So Twig trades his ultimate out for Raffers, and that's an absolutely worthwhile trade for CaptainTwig. Through the Cosmos, a pretty low cooldown overall compared to Terra's Blessing, near the top in terms of ultimate cooldowns because of how impactful that global ultimate is. So Twig does a good job of getting NRG off that Gold Fury with the threat of him coming crashing down alone.
Now, the good news is the Portal Demon is not worth too much in terms of gold, but it is something. That's the main thing. It is something, and Obey keep winning these small trades in the jungle every single time, and that's where this gold leaders really come from. Just invading NRG's jungle, and NRG not really finding this right sort of answer.
And maniaK's done a good job of keeping as close to Xaliea as possible because he's lost every single blue buff since the beginning spawn, and he's still only about a level and a half down. And a lot of that is because solo laners just get that innate farm by staying alone in lane, and adapting has done a nice job of recognizing that he's going to be behind and not setting maniaKK behind as well.
Well, maniaK's still in trouble here on this right-hand side now that Twig comes in, waiting with the stun nicely timed, trying to set up Xaliea for the extra damage with the stun of his own. The bad news is that maniaKK recognized it. Very well played by maniaKK on the defense there to stay alive, and now in comes adapting to this right-hand lane as Twig still working on the tower, but now minions are down. Has to fall back.
Love what Twig did during that gank and stripped away the protections of maniaKK before going in with the stun, and that's the area that Ratatoskr saw his buff. It was a little bit more physical penetration, protection strip is technically the term, on that flurry of acorns, and that's what allows him to go for a build like he's gone for without any pen in the early game. You level up that too, you're stripping away protections. It's like you have built-in pen, but you can go for a little bit more hybrid style of build. And this Ansile and Xaliea, so good in this matchup because it stops iRaffer from comboing him by silencing him if he gets too close, as well as Yammyn. If Yammyn hits him with the first part of Percussive Storm or jumps in on him with the Thunder Crash, he's going to get silenced out right afterwards. This is a really smart pickup by CaptainTwig.
Well, the Hide of the Urchin's starting to come through in some positions here. Ataraxia has his fully online. Yammyn still working on his after the Book of Thoth, which we've seen the rise of in the mid lane, but also PrettyPriMe, who hasn't gone for the Book of Thoth, which is one of the extra reasons we've seen that because of the extra mana, actually still going to go for it anyway.
It's because Prime's ahead, and from ahead, you're going to be relying on your base damage. You're going to be relying on the fact that you're just getting more points into your abilities and getting that base damage up.
But a Poseidon base damage, like...
Poseidon's mostly there for the control anyways, as maniaKK steals away his blue buff. And now on the chase, finds the stun onto Xaliea. Terra's Blessing popped as well.
All in onto Xaliea, but the Kraken trying to get maniaKK away. Xaliea will live to fight another day. Twig, however, has to get to the sky quick and will do so. emilZy now going to transform and force NRG back, but it's emilZy surrounded now. Leaps over the wall to safety, and NRG with a failed attempt at ganks again. But they did force a lot of defensive opportunities from Obey.
And this is one of those scenarios where Ataraxia is probably wishing he didn't go for Hide of the Urchin, because if he had finished Executioner and was working towards what probably would be a Poison Star or something like that, he probably could have soloed gold during that. That was a lot of time that emilitoo was on the right side of the map, and maybe Ataraxia still could have with the Hide of the Urchin. I think I would have preferred to see him do that, and because emilitoo has been hard committing to the rotations to the right-hand side. We saw in the set between Valence and Dignitas how Dignitas punished Funball for a rotation to the right. It's time for Obey to try to do the same to Emil.
Gold Fury down to half health, adapting closest to it. emilZy trying to keep Rafa and Yammyn at bay as Yammyn will eat the hammer. Twig now stunned in place, but with the Thorns will reduce the damage that NRG do and make sure they turn around. Gold Fury with it being reset though, Obey go back to it as NRG clear up their own jungle, and Obey will reset once more.
emilZy just making sure Yammyn doesn't have any sort of impact in this fight. Love his positioning in that one, just keeping Yammyn as far away as possible. And without Taiko drums, Raijin does not have the best range damage. She really relies on either throwing the Raiju on someone close and bouncing it to other enemies, or being in the thick of things. And so if emilZy can stick up in his face like that, even making it harder for him to use those Taiko drums is enough to make sure that that Raijin ultimate isn't going to be quite as impactful.
Well, keeping an eye on emilitoo versus Ataraxia in terms of hunters right now. Hold out though, emilZy in a bit of trouble there, but with a nice little knockback coming out from Prime that was hidden behind the little dwarf, it comes into play to get him out of the danger and doesn't force him to use his ult defensively.
Now this is a great time to fight for Obey because look at the two builds between Ataraxia and emilitoo. Ataraxia right now just has a straight up Hide of the Urchin over Emil. That is the exact same build except for Ataraxia has an entire defensive item over emilitoo. So this is where Obey wants to fight. Before emilitoo can go back, start working on whether he wants Poison Star or Chin Size, whatever sort of build option Emil wants to go for, this is the time for Obey to fight. And
it's a 2-level lead for him as well, which also does help out a little bit. Where's the focus that should really come out from NRG now in these team fights? Because clearly they've got a few threats. Poseidon and these whirlpools are going to cause them so many problems, but then you've got that naughty little bee on the backline that's still going to just be swinging away.
Well, it can't be CaptainTwig because he just finished off Mystical Mail in the jungle right after the Ansile, so I don't think that's necessarily the target. Xaliea isn't particularly tanky because he's lacking a lot of HP in that build, has protections for both physical and magical, but not a lot of HP, so I think that he might be the easiest target for Obey to go for. Of course, Poseidon's probably a little bit easier, but with how Prime is going to position in comparison to how Xaliea is going to position, Cabrakan might be the easiest target for NRG to bring down.
So what do we feel about this Anseal, first of all, before we even touch on the Mystical Mail? I mean, it's not something we've seen too often recently. What is it is bringing the reason we may start to see it more?
It gives CaptainTwig protection against Raijin. As I mentioned, it also prevents that combo from Terra after the first root. But it's just, after the adjustment, it's got more damage, a little bit less protection. It's an aggressive hybrid item.
Stun onto emilZy. emilZy misses the hammers on the backside. Camazotz blinks in. Adapting was looking for pressure onto Ataraxia. Yammyn was pressured himself back towards his mid tower, as is emilitoo. And now he's just the tanks remaining. The Terra's Blessing comes into play to try and keep iRaffer standing, but it's all focus on iRaffer from the whole team. The rest of NRG disengage, and poor old support is always going to be the last one there. And now it looks like the Gold Fury once more is started up by Obey.
I love what Twig did in that situation. Raijin is under tower, less than 100 HP, has the Aegis available though, and so everyone from NRG starts piling towards Yammyn, saying, we're going to protect you from that Ratatoskr ultimate. And Twig just says, I might go to mid lane, or I'll just hit iRaffer, but you have to back up to protect Yammyn like I'm going there either way. It forces NRG back, then he helps secure the kill onto iRaffer and just goes back towards the Gold Fury. Yammyn was already as good as dead in that team fight. If he has to back, he may as well be dead. Good choice.
Yammyn in mid lane under pressure quite heavily, has to Aegis. emilitoo coming in. Will try and help him out. Good stun. Prime has to beat and take some damage from the Suns, but it's not enough to kill him just yet. And yes, that taunt did get him low, but Adapting can't find it. The bat's in the sky though. Swoop. It's not there. The third one, but he's going to die for that surely. Nice leap over the wall, but the chase is still on.
Xaliea can't find the sun with the 2, but even with speed buff, I can't imagine Adapting's going to get out of this one. Maybe, but he's got to worry about so many towers. Look at where Ataraxia is positioning as well. Just trying to die to the tower. And he will.
Good job.
And he will. emilZy couldn't find the hit.
So they get assist credit for being nearby there, but it's not the same as getting the credit for the kill.
Really good play there by Adapting, who honestly got baited into a bad spot because of a great juke from PrettyPriMe, utilizing that extra movement speed with the Trident from Poseidon. But even after securing the kill, the quick reaction to jump up and over Xalia's walls and get away. Not what he would like. I'm sure he'd like to live in that position, but given the hand that he was dealt, that was the best he could have done.
So only one Gold Fury down for Obey, but it has been, I believe, at least 2 Portal Demons, and pretty much, like, I'd say 80% of the speed buff so far this game.
Yes.
Maybe 70, actually. I think we've seen speed go, like, 3 times now to NRG.
Well, either way, it's been Obey dominating the right side of the map without a doubt. Blue and Speed have been consistently going to Obey. As you mentioned, 2 Portal Demons as well, and that Gold Fury on the left is that big difference maker. NRG was down 5,000 gold. They were still contesting around that Gold Fury. They could still dance with Obey Alliance, but after the Gold Fury, now that gold lead is 8,000 gold. It's a little bit harder to get in there and just kind of trade damage. You have to wait for Obey to engage and hope that they kind of botch it in order for it to go your way.
Wow, the tier 1 on the right has already fallen in favor of Obey, and the one on the left is on its last legs right now. You can see emilitoo getting very lucky to have not lost his tower to the last minion wave that got pushed in there. Luckily enough, his minions turned up at the same time, so it'll stand for now, but that's paper thin.
And CaptainTwig is going for even more defense with Hide of the Urchin next, and I like this decision. Normally on Assassins, that's not the sort of build path you want to go for because you're going to be lacking late game damage pretty substantially.
But Shred.
But Ratatoskr is going to lack that anyways.
Shred and setup.
Exactly. He's there for the setup, he's there for the peel, and he's got that protection Shred as well. CaptainTwig's probably not going to stay on top of the damage charts much longer. Now's the point in the game where Ratatoskr begins to fall off and be a little bit less impactful in terms of damage. But the impact that he made in the early game is why you draft Ratatoskr. It's the pressure, it's the buff secure, it's the mobility around the map.
Potential. That's what it also is. Adapted under pressure here, going to swoop in and has to swoop straight back out again towards his teammates. EmilZy doesn't want to give up the sprint pops here. A minute, just going to keep him leashed for the time being. Xaliea walks in with great walls and traps two. Kraken to the rescue, and Ataraxia takes out maniaKK soon after. And now emilitoo's on the run. Aegis is down as EmilZy swings in. That'll get the beat out of emilitoo, and Twig will clean up the kill. Yammyn has to defensively jump over the wall back towards adapting. 3 for 0. Obey on the rampage.
Beautiful setup by Xaliea and Prime on the mark with that Kraken. 2 tanks locked in, and even at this stage, you're going to be able to shred through those with that Kraken. Now Fire Giant the call for Obey. Only Yammyn adapting here. Neither one has beads or an ult.
Well, let's see what happens here. The focus is on Yammyn. First of all, as adapting is looking to poke down Ataraxia. Yammyn stunned in place and taken out. As in goes adapting, looking for Prime. He'll take out at least one, but Ataraxia will make sure that trades out for a 1-for-1. Definitely still in favor of NRG eSports with killing one, but the Fire Giant's still going down, and Yammyn!
Definitely worth it. Well, not anymore for Yammyn, but that was a good play from Xaliea, just waiting for Yammyn to lock himself in place with the Thunder Crash channel. A good play by adapting. In that situation, adapting is worth very little at this stage in the game, and he's going to respawn in time to defend whatever push Obey is going to go for. Sacrificing your life to take Fire Giant buff off of a carry, worth it in that scenario for NRG's jungler.
Well, 11 to 5 now, and with 4 members with the Fire Giant, we'll see where they head, because there's only tier 2 towers remaining. Gold Fury's up in 22nd time, so don't be surprised to see Obey look in that direction to start with.
And can just go for Gold Fury, push down all 3 towers from left to right, and all of a sudden this 10,000 gold lead is closer to 20,000 than the 10K mark. Obey has got a couple power items completed right now between the Gem of Isolation and the Chin Size, between PrettyPriMe and Ataraxia respectively. But if they get the Gold Fury and all 3 towers, that means Ratatahuti's done for PrettyPriMe. It means that Twig can finish off Titan's Bane, whatever item he so chooses in that last slot. Xaliea could finish his build as well. So Obey has the opportunity to go for that sort of passive playstyle if they so choose. But at the same time, Obey could probably just get gold, get left T2, and push that left side Phoenix with how far ahead they are.
I'm still surprised that we're seeing AMC, because everyone used to say, and it was always days of old, of reason AMC doesn't get played is because he just gets ganked on cooldown and can't get going. Well, problem is that everyone just seems to be leaving AMC alone, like he's okay to leave until the later stages.
Teams have gotten so much smarter, though, because look at what Obey did in this game. They put Ataraxia on the left-hand side and then put constant pressure on the right. So adapting has to choose. Do I try and gank Ataraxia, who's already ahead because of the start that Obey got with him getting first blood, so it's already a tough ask to put adapting in that gank scenario, so he's already behind there. And then it's, well, even if I go over to the left, even if I get a kill, I'm actually losing golden experience because of the invades on the right-hand side from Obey getting both buffs. Obey is putting NRG with this sort of draft and the sort of playstyle that they went for in a lose-lose situation. You either let Ataraxia get big or you lose your buffs on the right-hand side. Or, worst case scenario, which is what we saw this game, both happen. And you're just kind of out of it from there.
Well, NRG won't defend the tier 2 in mid either. They did lose the one on the left-hand side as they split push to right. But realizing that Obey could look towards the Phoenixes, they retreated back. And that's where we see most of the defensive now. Surprisingly enough, not as many in the T2 as we would expect with their buffs in terms of health. But the Phoenixes is where the focus seems to be for last-ditch defenses.
And they're so much stronger now, as you mentioned, and just kind of give that extra boost. With Emperor's armor being excellent now as well, you can kind of boost that even more. And Obey kind of going for the hybrid style here. They get T2 and left and mid, Portal Demon back, get those power items that I was talking about, and then come and finish it off.
And this is a good idea from NRG. I do like this call here. You can see them hanging in the jungle, just trying to make sure that they can try and get some experience. Because if they do actually manage to defend, pick off 3 or 4, they can then start taking out tier 2 towers straight away. Not these initial tier 1s that are going to cause them problems. But they've got to get back to base in time to defend, and they're doing just that.
Very good, very well timed by NRG, and they do that better than just about any other team. Understanding that we're not going to defend this, so we'll push this in the meantime, get a little bit of golden experience,
on paper,
and still be back.
Tier 1 for a tier 2 isn't good, but when you look at the grand scale of the game, it's a pretty good idea if you're not going to be able to defend it, your tier 2s.
Again, it's just doing best with what you have. As Raffer's in trouble, but does dash out of the Kraken in time, but Xaliea locks in too with a nice wall. maniaKK up and down, only hit Xaliea with that Lord of the Afterlife, and Obey just kind of resetting, waiting for that Fire Giant buff to heal him up.
And the bees come into play. Remember, that will continue to hit onto different targets too if you're near them. So that's why you see the extra damage coming off and NRG having to split apart a little bit more to make sure they don't get disarmed themselves. Now with a new menu wave coming in, Obey set it up again, and Twig's going to give the early warning sign to NRG of like, you better fall back, because we're coming in.
Yammyn up into the ultimate, but NRG's not falling back quite yet. Twig down into the back line, mid-Phoenix falling very low. Ataraxia's going to finish it off, and now he's looking for maniaKK.
And emilitoo forced out, and maniaKK will fall. Yammyn leaps away, but another member of NRG die, and everybody on Obey perfectly fine. Good news is, though, Fire Giant has worn off, so NRG fans out there can breathe a sigh of relief for at least a few more moments' time.
And you look at what Obey has right now. They've got 5 Hide of the Urchins, and I know everyone's talking about Hide of the Urchin, and oh, it's so crazy. When you're ahead, yeah, you can build 5 Hide of the Urchins and look great because you're so far ahead that the fact that you're level 20 and your opposition's level 17, 16, of course you're still going to be doing a lot of damage. And this is where Hide really excels, is when you are ahead, because even with NRG having a pretty good engage there, Prime didn't get as much damage off as he would have liked, completely whiffed the center of the Kraken onto Raffer. Even with him taking a lot of damage, without Hide of the Urchin, does Prime fall there? Potentially, yes.
Back in Season 1, when we go all the way back to Season 1, you used to see a lot of Spirit Robes from teams that were ahead because of the fact that they'd be able to keep you... Sorry, Magi's Blessings, I should say.
Yes, Magi's.
Magi's Blessings, not Spirit Robes. Magi's Blessings all the time because you were ahead, you wanted to stay alive and make sure you didn't have to use as many of your beads opportunities or be hit by so much CC. And it's the same sort of story now. Urchin has just been the new replacement for Magi's.
And that was when Beads was on a 90-second cooldown.
And it had a 3-second removal of abilities
and
as well.
People still felt like they needed more beats.
Yep. That's the way it is. But
players were so they had the cushy life back then, man. The squishies, the 90-second beads.
Things have changed, man.
What I would give.
Things have definitely changed because NRG are once again not in a great spot against Obey. I mean, these two have fought each other a few times now. Couple of roster changes for each as the seasons have progressed. The last real big tournament these two, I want to say, faced off in was hi-rez Expo at Worlds in the finals.
I believe they also played in the finals of the spring Springland, and that was where Obey actually got their revenge, adapting Force to blink away from CaptainTwig's ultimate. But with that slow from the horrific emblem, it forces out adapting's ult.
And now adapting Force back to base once more. emilitoo has to leap away, but doesn't get too far there. Obey don't want to bite off more than they can chew, though. No point trying to fight in mid when the middle Phoenix is already down. Let's keep our focus on taking the objectives.
But look where the minion wave is on the left-hand side. Obey's going to have to wait a long time for this wave.
Yeah, now because those minions are going to wait a little bit longer. You can see Twig going all the way back. But by the time he gets here, those minions are pretty much going to be dead anyway. But there's nothing else they can really do.
No, they have to wait for that wave. They don't want to have to just tank up that Phoenix and try and backdoor it because of how tanky they are.
Imagine if bees were minions.
What?
Imagine if emilZy actually produced bees that would tank. I mean, bees are technically people too, right? I mean, other animals.
Literally, no.
I mean, I didn't mean people. I meant like, we have animals in Smite. Why can't bees be playable animals too? We even have dogs and things. Shouldn't bees be the same?
You're really out here trying to buff AMC.
Listen, I'm just trying to make this game more entertaining because at the moment, Obey is stomping NRG into the ground, okay? And we're just watching it unfold.
Well, here comes Raffer into the mid, trying to get everyone from Obey back, and does so successfully with that slow, but oh, look at the Phoenix health already, very, very low.
In with the ultimate goes Raffer here. The defense is pretty solid this time from NRG until the Kraken comes into play and removes Raffer from the map. NRG recognizing they lost their front line, have to fall back and lose their Phoenix, and Twig's going to look straight towards Yammyn, who has to beads and leap away, but another relic now burnt, and Twig will exit stage right.
emilZy in between his team and NRG, trying to force them back as Xaliea comes in to tank up this right side Phoenix, not worried about the backdoor protections this time around because there's only 4 members of NRG to defend, and they're worried about the fire minions.
Yeah, they need to worry about fire minions in mid for sure. On the next wave, maniaKK still in trouble, but has to fall back again. 3 Phoenixes down now for a moment as the mid one is about to respawn.
And that's exactly where Obey is looking. Yammyn looking for some poke over the wall with that Raijin, but good job by Twig to dash away. Obey is still so healthy as well. Xaliea and emilZy, the only ones missing any substantial health, and they still got Fire Giant for their minute and a half to sustain them up.
So going back to the start of this game, Aggro, was it down to the first blood of emilitoo that really put NRG in a bad spot? Because, I mean, solo lane was struggling too.
No, it was CaptainTwig and Xaliea controlling the right side of the map.
So first blood didn't really mean as much.
It did because it made Ataraxia ahead, and that made that emilitoo couldn't pressure him in that lane and couldn't try and find those solo kills 1v1. So it certainly was impactful, yes, but if you're looking at the big difference maker, it was definitely the pressure on the right side.
Emil's going to turn to a dragon here and keep the pressure going, and you can see on the left-hand side, Xalia's going all in on 2, and he steps on the floor, and Yammyn disappears once more. Meanwhile, on the backside, maniaKK and Adapting try to combine to pick up Prime, but Prime has done his best, juking again, and the bats will not connect him this time. maniaKK has to disappear, and Obey don't really care. They're going to go in for the end and not even need it as the surrender vote comes out at 33 minutes.
And it really wasn't close. That was Obey dominating that entire game. NRG never had the momentum, and that's what these two teams have to offer. I mean, I wouldn't be particularly surprised if NRG comes back and looks just as good as Obey did in Game 2. That's kind of the volatility of this matchup.
It is NRG, and we've seen what happens when they lose Game 1s. They generally have a much better, much more dangerous Game 2.
Yeah.
We'll see what Obey can do against that then.
More active. That's what I want to see out of NRG. That's usually what we see from them in Game 2. Less reactive. It was Obey dictating that entire pace, and a lot of that is draft-oriented, because look at the first 3 picks. AMC, Ratatoskr, Cabrakan. All 3 gods that want pressure in the early game. So Obey was going for that sort of strategy, and NRG kind of tried to play into that. They tried to draft some pressure as well between the Raijin and the Camazotz and the Osiris as well in that solo lane. But Obey, when you match up pressure versus pressure, the team that ends up getting that advantage usually just steamrolls, and that's what we saw in Game 1.
Well, let's go.